but like even the sound of the guns was like off, and I was like, I have never seen David Ayer like do a gunfight not through practical effects before, other than like his studio superhero stuff that he's done where he doesn't even do blood anyway. But I was like, when we like think about Sabotage or Fury, like those are absolutely like repulsive movies with really gross violence that like
I will remember
tangible, and none of the violence in this really felt that way to me.
Yeah, I will remember a shot from Fury forever, and that's when the kid goes into the tank for the first time and just sees a fucking face. Like, just, it's not even a head, it's a face just on the metal part of the tank. And I was like, it's so real looking. There's so much texture to it. And I was just like, this is, to me, what I thought, like, David Ayer was going to be about. It's kind of that, like, really macho camaraderie kind of thing. And then mixed in with all this incredibly detailed and textured violence to kind of, you know, really bring the point home that this is kind of the world and environment that these men live in. And with this, it's just like the Shia scene is violent, and then like you said, the drag across the concrete scene. Like that's like the only things that I can really think of.
Those are the only two that stood out to me like at all.
Yeah.
Which was just surprising because he does have gunfights, and there is like a slow-mo gunfight with blood squibs at one point in this film that, you know, is shot in like kind of like an elongated take that is like pretty cool. But it's just like, for the most part, early on especially, most of the action is just like really cut up and really like has very little weight to it and is done a lot with CG. And I was just quite surprised because that's not what I'm used to seeing out of a David Ayer movie. So when you combine that, his violence isn't as like well conceived or as nasty as it has been in some of his best stuff, and it feels like the narrative is all jumbled up, and this is, in my opinion, this is actually one of his kind of ugliest looking movies in terms of the cinematography.
And let's just, like, you said ugly, so this just popped in my head because you tweeted about it, and it's so right. That opening title sequence is one of the worst, most like Windows Media Player fucking Windows Movie Maker things I've ever seen. I was like, dude, I know you're better than this. Who the hell was your graphic designer on this? This is just awful. Like, this is awful.
I felt like I was watching like an After Effects tutorial from like 2008 where they put like those moving ink splots that are meant to look like tattoos or something like that.
It's so bad. Like, it was so amateur. I just couldn't believe it. And then speaking again on that violence thing, if you're going to establish that like the reason that these men live this way and all that, that's the reason you have to show us the crazy violence so that we can understand exactly what the consequences are and all that. And the only thing that they do is, once again, the Shia thing. And then speaking on Shia again, going back to his whole like listening to Bobby for instructions on killing someone, that dynamic to me was the most interesting thing, because Shia comes off as this very like, I'm the man, I do what I want, I am my own person, that whole thing. But then you see him constantly just taking instructions from Bobby when he obviously wants to kill. So that
like Shia plays it really well because he kind of plays it as like clearly like a vicious like guard dog of a person, pretty much.
Exactly.
So he's incredibly loyal and listens to the instructions, but you feel like at any second he could explode and like tear someone's head off.
Right.
And Shia plays it like very well with that kind of presence. I was a little surprised to see that so many people taking him to task for like the voice that he's doing.
I thought it was understated and really good, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he really wasn't, like, a lot of people.
It's not like he's doing Scarface or some shit. Like,
yeah, like people thought watching the trailer that he was like trying to play like a Mexican man, and it's very clear watching the movie that he's not.
No, he's a white guy that grew up in that culture.
Exactly. So he picked up on the language and how to talk to people in their environment and stuff. So it's just like it and Shia again plays it like in a way that is somehow like kind of natural because he's just kind of a talented actor in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it does suck that he's not, you know, really in it, because again they set him up to be like
the guy.
You know,
they advertise this as a Shia movie.
Well, and you spend the whole time being like, you know, he's going to explode.
He's the interesting one
at any second.
Yeah, exactly.
And he never does.
No, there's nothing.
And it's not used in like an interesting way. It just feels like haphazardly put together. It feels like they just kind of messed up. It feels like they focus really hard on making his character feel dangerous and about to explode.
Yeah.
And then they put a very derivative, you know, sort of like narrative trajectory for it. And they cut out like all the actual character scenes that would have you, you know, think or feel anything about these actual characters.
Yeah. And I
so
thought
it was like
I
a
read
really weird thing. And also it's just kind of shot like an HBO show. Like it's very like, again, sort of like that. What I complain about, what was that one we talked about?
It looks cheap. It really does.
The one that we did with Blake Lively as the spy. I forget what movie that was called.
Oh,
that came out sometime this year.
Yeah, I'm blanking on it too, but I know what you're talking about.
People will probably remember. But either way, my critique of that was that like the actual style of the camera is just like mostly natural lighting and like just an expensive digital camera. And like that's it. Like they don't actually choose many stylistic elements or even compositions. Most of this is like kind of shot in like close-ups and medium close-ups. Like there's not like any beautiful compositions or anything. It's just odd because like
of like
other David Ayer films look great. Like Fury looks great.
Oh, it looks so good.
Despite the fact that, you know, again, it's mostly strapped to like the car and the
body
sort of
cam
like
and stuff.
The body cam, but it replicates that with the style. It has a certain sort of like handheld attached to their bodies kind of style to it, whereas this doesn't have that. This just feels bland. It just feels like they didn't pay attention to how they were shooting the movie.
I also feel like it looks
sucks.
cheap.